Hi, I'm Joe Farace. Welcome to Joe's Movie Club. Today we're going to talk about a movie that kind of has a special meaning to me. In the summer of 1981, my wife and I went on our first date. As it turned out, we went to the movies. We went to the Ogden Theater in downtown Denver to see a double feature science fiction double feature featuring War of the Worlds and When Worlds Collide. And then recently, when Paramount Presents announced they were doing a 4K version of War of the Worlds, I was interested, even though I had the Criterion version of War of the Worlds, the Blu-ray. But packaged with War of the Worlds was a Blu-ray of When Worlds Collide. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So you can imagine my surprise when Paramount Presents announces that they're doing a dual disc package of War of the Worlds and When Worlds Collide in Blu-ray. The War of the Worlds is in 4K, and we'll talk about how it compares to the Criterion Blu-ray at some time when we review that movie. But in the meantime, let's talk about When Worlds Collide. So it has this kind of fancy case here that I'm not sure what it really accomplished, but it has a inside slipcase, nice slipcase actually, and the dual disc package with the inevitable digital and two discs, the 4K War of the Worlds and the Blu-ray of When Worlds Collide. If you're not familiar with When Worlds Collide, it's a follow-up to George Powell, who produced this and several other science fiction films, including War of the Worlds, to his famous movie of Destination Moon. This is classic 1950s science fiction, hard science fiction, guys against the elements and building a rocket ship and going to the moon. Terrific movie. And I don't know if there's a Blu-ray or not. I'd have to look into that. Anyway, he followed that up in 1951 with When Worlds Collide, which was based on a book by Philip Wiley and Edwin Ballmer. These guys also collaborated on some other science fiction books. But this was a classic 50s science fiction in which the scientists were out to save the world. The movie was directed by Rudolph Maté, who had directed DOA, which is one of the classic noir films of all time, with Edmund O'Brien as a man who is poisoned and is trying to find the man who killed him before the poison kills him. Heck of a movie. It was remade, not as well. If you get a chance to look at the Edmund O'Brien original, please do. So here he goes to directing a science fiction epic. And it's a simple story, really. It's about a planet hurtling to Earth that has a satellite circling it. And in X number of days, the satellite is going to smash into the Earth, creating not a very good situation. And finally, the planet itself will hit Earth, wiping it out. Naturally, the scientists who discover this, they go to the UN and they tell everybody, and nobody believes them, of course, because they think, oh, well, how can that be? We had our scientists look at it and it's not going to happen. It's going to miss us. So they get a millionaire, interestingly enough, who's interested in space and also interested in a getaway to build a rocket. By the time these planets that are hurtling toward the Earth get seen by other people, they realize, well, we're in for it now. Meanwhile, these guys are building the rocket, and that's what it's all about. And then meanwhile, this has a terrific cast. It has Richard Durr, who is a character actor, he's as cast as a leading man here. He does a wonderful job. He was even on one of the Star Trek episodes later in his life. And Barbara Rush, early in her career, lovely woman, a terrific actress, and a really important role that is kind of surprising for the time. In two smaller roles, you'll see some actors who are that will later on do some interesting things. One is Kirk Alyn, Kirk Alyn became the first Superman in the first two Superman films of that era, including one of my favorites. I remember my dad took me to see it, Superman and the Mole Men. I love that movie. And the other was Stuart Whitman, who became a very famous actor later in the 60s and 70s. So you look for them in some smaller parts. But basically the movie revolves around a very simple plot. They're trying to get off the Earth before, boom, everything goes south. The special effects are quite good. The matte paintings and the model work are outstanding. The only letdown comes at the end, and I finally found out what happened. There's a matte painting when they finally land, oh, spoilers, I guess. When they finally land on the orbiting planet that was going around the planet that crushes Earth, the matte painting is flat, two-dimensional, and I remember when we saw it in the theater, I thought, wow, this is a great movie. What the heck is this matte painting? Why is it so bad? Well, it turns out one of the consultants for this film, and probably who did the other great matte paintings that are in the film, is a guy named Chesley Bonestell. Now that's a very unusual name, and I'm going to put it down here in case you want to look it up, because there's a wonderful documentary on YouTube about him. If I can find a link to that documentary, I'll put that below as well. But meanwhile, I'll make sure I spell his name out so that maybe you can dig up information about the guy. He was a terrific painter, and he did beautiful space paintings that were just absolutely fantastic. So he drew a sketch of the planet at the end, and because of budgetary and time constraints, they used his flat two-dimensional sketch, and that's really the only weak link in the special effects that you'll find in this film, because everything else is pretty first class. And the movie looks great too. I mean, seriously. First of all, Powell shot his films in Technicolor, and Technicolor transfers are just beautiful. They are just retain the color and vibrance. This transfer is sharp, it's colorful, it's realistic, it's fabulous. I can find, unlike the King Kong video that I just did, where I talked about some of the noise and grain and stuff that weren't as very good, there's nothing like that here. Even the horrible matte painting at the end looks better than it ever did. It certainly looks better than in the print I saw with Mary 40-some years ago. It's a movie for fans of the 50s science fiction genre. If that's you, you're going to love this movie. And I really recommend it. That it's not that expensive for the 2-disc. And we'll be coming up later, we'll be talking about the 4K War of the Worlds, because that has a special place in my heart for other reasons too, because I had seen that film way back in the 50s, and I'll have a personal link between a friend of mine and whose father plays a key role in the War of the Worlds, in the original War of the Worlds, as compared to the Tom Cruise Spielberg version, which I'm not a big fan of. But I am a big fan of When Worlds Collide, and I recommend that you get it. If you want to wait till you see what I have to say about War of the Worlds, hang in there. It's a very inexpensive package. And I'll put a link below if you want to purchase one. For my next review, I'm not going to be going to War of the Worlds. It turns out I've been trying to talk Mary into watching both of these movies with me. And it turns out that, well, maybe she's not that interested. So tonight, while she's at work, I'm going to be watching The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, a Catherine Deneuve film. If you saw my review of The April Fools, you know I'm a huge Catherine Deneuve fan. I'm looking forward to that, and that'll be the topic of my next movie review here on YouTube. So stay tuned for that one. Thanks for watching, and if you get a chance, please subscribe. It really would help the algorithm, and maybe a couple of more people will get a chance to watch my little videos. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.